Good afternoon, fellow Canadians. This is that old Mountie again, Don Matheson. I'm talking to you from my driveway. Compliments of Border Paving. They did a beautiful job of, they haven't put the blacktop on yet, but that's going to arrive in a couple of days. But I just thought of the little humor in there. I have to remember it's Sunday, it's kind of Sabbath for me. But a couple of years ago, there was a picture of Justin Trudeau sitting on a toilet. And the phrase was said, I have to repeat the phrase. Justin Trudeau said, some people come here to sit and think. I come here to shit and stink. And that's exactly what he's doing to this country right now. All right, so I'm going to turn this around so that you can have, but I'm going to let you have a look at a super job by Border Paving. This used to be so rutted that I could darn near swim in this driveway. And in the wintertime, it would be a skating rink. And as my neighbor would tell you, Jules, it was really dangerous to even walk in this driveway. Well, look what a little bit of repair does. This, I guess the best phrase I have for right now while I'm still facing this toilet is that Justin Trudeau has us down the crapper right now. And we're gonna go one more time further down that crapper, and that's when he finally does a flush and takes us all down at the same time. Isn't that what happens when a bowl is full of crap? All right, again, this is Don Matheson from my driveway in Lacombe, Alberta. I set up an example of just how bad Justin Trudeau has looked after this country. And I'm sitting down where a lot of us find a little respite. I'm at the very end of my driveway, and again, compliments to Border Paving and the crew that came over here to do this. They're not done yet, but it just shows how much, when you decide to do something, how things can change. So I'm going to let you see the back of the driveway all the way back to the shed. That shed was really compliments, not compliments, but a lot of hard work by Craig, my friend from British Columbia. Because of lack of maintenance, the whole north side was rotted. We have a brand new roof on it, and several other things have been attached to it. Again, there's the back of my driveway. I can put up with a little bit of annoyance of a flag waving in my face because it's my country's flag. I've had to put up with 9 years of the annoyance of Justin Trudeau, and he was everywhere. You know, it gets a little sickening watch this juvenile twit. And the news people putting him in there 4 and 5 times a day. He's done. That ship has sunk. So why don't you news people pick up something that you can help Canada with right now? Whether you like it or not, we're either on fire, we're flooding, or politicians are doing both to us. I want to talk to you again today about a couple of things that are still open. One in particular was the death at the hands of a Calgary City police force. And the young Native man, I say young because he's a lot younger than I am. His name was Wells. And while I'm sad that I have to say first responders were standing around talking after they'd put a spit mask on his face at the carriage house in Calgary, Alberta. This man was drowning in his own blood and his own regurgitation. And while the city police just stood around and watched. And why don't you check that with the chief? He's finally said, well, gee, we need an inquiry on this. All you got to do is turn your cameras on, Chief of Police, Calgary. You'll see all the evidence you need. But then you're going to take several months or maybe a year even to investigate this to come up with the reasonable and probable grounds of why he died. He died because of the hands of your police officers. So when are we going to start dealing with this, public? Chief of Police doesn't need another, oh, that's right, the Mounties need a year or two, maybe they say. on the death of a 33-year-old young man in Red Deer, Alberta. And 4 gung-ho Mounties went to do a wellness check on him. Excuse me. And while the dad was running down the stairs in his own home, screaming, "Don't shoot my son! Don't shoot my son!" And 4 of them shot him. What, 8 times? 6 times? All this young fellow needed was a little medical help. And his parents were trying to get that for him. But the city of Red Deer, with 15,000 population, only has 1 wellness crew. So when that wellness crew is off on holidays, which they're entitled to, who's looking after these wellness checks? They're the Queen's cowboys with guns. And one of those guns was a long rifle. What in hell is a long rifle doing inside a home? This happened several months ago. Is the Red Deer Advocate doing any update on what's going on? I have very little faith in a lot of newspapers anymore. The police just say, well, it's under investigation. Well, most sudden deaths at the hands of a police officer is under investigation for several years, so there are no more witnesses. Nobody to talk about it. People just want to get out of it. Keep me out of it, we say. I'm quite comfortable on this. I think most of us are when we're sitting there for a purpose. So what are we going to do about this, Canadians? I think that's a question I have most of the time for you. What are you going to do about it? The other day I was at a bit of a rally just south of Red Deer. There were a lot of people that cared, but did they care enough to talk about it and do more than just talk? I don't want to denude the identity of the people I met, because at least they were there to at least find out what was going on, so it showed they cared. But how far does that care go when it can affect you and your family when you get involved? How many times am I going to hear that phrase, "Oh, Don, keep me out of this. I didn't cause it. I didn't create it." And the biggest issue I have now, I've been to several of these rallies, and there are no young people showing up. They're trying to figure out how to get young people to attend. Well, maybe we should care more about them. You ever think of that? All our young people need today is a few older examples of what it's supposed to be like. And how many of those do we have? How many mentors do we have for young people that are out there right now? Most of our young people have quit watching us talk, listening to us talk. They're now watching what we're doing. And that's not a lot, is it, seniors? Okay? Like I say, I don't want to denude your identity, because I really think some of you are trying. And the sad part about it is that after we get a few people out there that have a little authority, they want to start a new party. Why don't you fix the ones we've got? Spend a little more time instead of thinking you're better than, because by the time you think you're going to run a political party, you're just going to replace what the hell you had before. And you're probably not even going to do a better job at it. So why don't we fix what we have? The most dangerous thing to Danielle Smith is her own party. She has so many factions in her party, they can't even get together to do things properly either. There's an interesting thing happened here a couple of weeks ago. Danielle Smith came forward and said, that's the Premier of Alberta, in case you don't know. And how I feel about Danielle Smith is that she is the only Premier that's going to keep this country together, despite all the men she has in her factions that are trying to cause her all kinds of problems. Yeah, and guess what? It's a woman that's doing it, isn't it, guys? Okay? They've been doing things for us for years and years and years. Well, we've caused them all kinds of problems. Who does the raping in this country? Men. Wow. Quite a statement, isn't it? I have to remember and watch myself because this is Sunday. It's a day of the Sabbath for me. And what are you doing today, public? Did you go to church this morning? Do you say grace when you sit down to eat? Okay. Anyways, Danielle Smith had got involved and she misquoted a number of police officers, mounted police officers, that are not on strength in this province right now, the province of Alberta. So what that means is that the town of Ponoka, Wetaskiwin, Grand Prairie, and similar towns like that are paying for police officers that are not on strength. Do those towns, are they going to fill those jobs? Of course they're not. It's going to be other police officers that have to work overtime. So that's even extra money. It's bad enough that we're paying for police officers that aren't there. We're going to pay for overtime to fill the spots of those that aren't there. So how did we solve the problem? And our new deputy commissioner in charge of this province, I have his name right now, I don't want to repeat it, I don't even want to remember it. But it's no different than our commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Mike DeHame. Why isn't he doing anything about the shortage? And it's a real joke because it was really serious for Danielle Smith. Because the people in Alberta are paying for cops that are not on strength. And the deputy commissioner, who's stationed in K Division, which is the headquarters here in Edmonton, said, "Oh wow, we have lots of applicants." How the hell does a deputy commissioner figure an applicant is going to fill the boots on the ground in the field? They haven't even started training yet. They're going through their process of applying to get into the force. But the old deputy commissioner didn't want to talk about that, did he? He just wanted to let our Premier, Danielle Smith, a lovely lady, by the way, who's trying to do everything she can, despite her own caucus. But he didn't want to say, oh, gee whiz, that's right, we're not paying for them yet. That's the complaint the communities have. They are paying for police officers that are not there. And the deputy commissioner comes up and says, oh, wow, we got lots of applicants. Who the hell is this guy? It's just another one of the white shirts that just doesn't figure things out properly. You might hear a little annoyance because I worked with 5 great cops that are dead. And they should still be alive. But because of the incompetence of the upper ranks, they're not. You got a group of Mounties in Salmon Arm, British Columbia. They're veterans. Can you imagine? They're veterans. Mounted Police veterans. I did a recording with them. I was the president of the vets, the shoe swap for a while. And I'm not going to mention some of their names right now. Okay. But they had decided that they're going to go clean up graveyards. They're going to find old headstones, tombstones, where our vets, where it hasn't been maintained. I broke down during that interview. My brother Bob Smith, who died an inspector, but mostly because of COVID, I never did get to see him. He and I had been looking for these tombstones and headstones for 15 years before the veterans in the shoe swap decided they should do something about it. Just like I said, the Mounted Police are always last to the fire, first to the bar. I hope you take offense to this, guys, because you're doing nothing to help. Our vets are pretty much retired and gone. And you said you wanted to clean up headstones and tombstones? How about the young people that are still serving? Why aren't you trying to keep them alive? Isn't that more important? But in all honesty, you should be able to do both at the same time. I think a lot of people like to think of sports as the ultimate thing. Well, I love sports. I like to be involved in it. But the main issue is, why can't we do both? Why can't we support sports and support all the other issues in Canada at the same time? How much time do you have, public? I don't know, whatever the hell you're doing with it, you're not doing enough. So I'm, like I say, I don't enjoy doing what I'm doing. It's a gorgeous afternoon here. It was a little frosty this morning, but I'm above ground, so I guess that's what really counts. Yeah, and I'm sitting on a toilet, a fairly decent toilet that we took out of the house, Craig and I. Okay. I just thought it was a good prop for you to see what Justin Trudeau does. Because about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or 5, he was sitting on a toilet for real. And that phrase I said earlier came from him. So back again to Danielle Smith. Why don't we try and help her instead of hurting her? I will support Danielle Smith 1,000%. If she decides to put things, she does a study with the people of Alberta before she puts them in play. And when she doesn't do it that way, then I'm going to be her greatest critic. Isn't that what people are supposed to be about? Compliment when it's good and kind of point out things when it's not. What do you call a friend, people? Somebody that lets you hang by a rope until you're just about dead, but don't untie the knot before you... I guess that's a similar type of expression. I just put both of those flags new, which I have. I'm going to give my neighbor one. They seem to be in short supply, but there's all kinds of them. And I just want to invite those Mounties that I hope will soon be or at least disciplined. I'm wearing a cap that was given to me. I'm entitled to buy it. And I have 2 lapel pins, one here and one here. This one says, "Lest we forget." It's a memorial for the 4 Mounties that died through neglect of the higher ranks of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Mayerthorpe, Alberta. And maybe those 2 Mounties that decided they wanted to arrest me a couple of weeks ago and take these off my shirt, and they haven't brought them back yet. So, who are we, people, as a society? Who are we? And again, I'm going to go back to Danielle Smith because she got a lot of negative criticism, mostly by the force, because they said, no, we update her every day. She gets the stats every day. Well, if you're updating her every day, then you know that you're short several hundred police officers in this province. Or is it only 60 or 80? Well, at an average salary, I was with one of my former members that is still alive, and I said to him, I made an estimate of roughly $85,000 for the new recruit. God, Don, he said, you're being generous. He said, they make over $100,000 now. And within 3 years, they're making about $115,000. So if you subtract that, it's the deputy commissioner here. I'm going to name him next time we're on a call, on a podcast. And you multiply that by 20, that's it. How many millions of dollars are the public paying for police officers that are not there? And as I said just prior, now, take the figures of members that are really sick and tired, that need a day off, that can't get it because they're working overtime because the force can't supply other members, and multiply their overtime. And you wonder why people don't want to join the mounted police? You know, years ago, most of the young lads, including myself, at 19, joined to help serve, to do things for the Canadian public. Why are they joining now? Why are they so short-handed? Why can't they get applicants? Well, if you want to send your daughter to pure hell, then have them join the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And if they escape the raping and the sexual molesting, they'll end up committing suicide or leaving the force. Is that a real option for your daughter to have, to join the Royal Canadian Mounted Police? The actual term for RCMP when I was in training was rub, clean, mop, and polish, and did we ever. So we haven't lost the sunshine yet, but probably in another hour we're going to. It's fall, and that's normally what happens. But again, I want to thank Border Paving for what a gorgeous job they've done on this driveway. And when the blacktop is on, it's even going to look a lot better. You see the length of this laneway now? As I said the other day, just south of Red Deer, I attended a gathering. There were a lot of nice people in there, but all they were doing was talking. Talked the talk, but didn't want to walk the walk. And there's a real absence of young people in politics right now. Why? I think I already said that. Because we don't care enough to do a little more for them. But again, the young people are not listening to what we say anymore. They're watching what we do. So when are we going to set a little better example for what some of us older people can do? That might help for younger people to join. Actually, this seat's rather comfortable. I never noticed that in my daily chores. I think it's because I'm outside in fresh air. Anyhow, Craig and I put those flags together. I have 23 more in the house. On my farm in Enderby, British Columbia, I put 3 flags up, 1 on the barn and 2 on my 12 by 24 foot sign. And that sign said, wakeupcanada.info. Your silence is deafening, and your silence is consent. So maybe those bullies that threw me into the back of a police car here a few days ago would like to come and take these pins off now. Yeah, they charged me for impersonating a police officer. That's one of them. The other 2 I'll talk about after we talk to our lawyers tomorrow. They are being charged. I have members that are saying to me, don't charge them. Please charge them. Some of these guys have got to be responsible for what they're doing. And a question to you, the public. How long does it take for a complaint to be investigated by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police? I'm not going to let the other 300 police force officers off on this one. I said on an earlier podcast some time back, if the mounted police are this bad, how bad are the other 300 other police officers? Dwayne McDonald, a deputy commissioner right now. I have a letter of authority now that I'm able to, from a murdered victim's mother, who's given me authority to contact the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and get some effects back for this young gal. This is Dwayne McDonald is the guy I laid a criminal charge for. How well do you think that's going to go off? Do you think he's going to do his duty properly now? Well, he hasn't done it up till now. Why are we afraid of the police? Nobody should be afraid of the police. But we are afraid of their guns, aren't we? And their tasers. and their boots and everything else that they can kick the hell out of you over. Well, I guess I can sit here. I look a little odd though, sitting in my driveway on a white porcelain toilet with 2 Canadian flags behind me. But that's representative of what Justin Trudeau has done to this country. He hasn't flushed us down yet, but he's holding his hand on the handle, just about ready to dump the crapper. We got a no breath of fresh air right now. The breeze just went dead calm. I'm kind of enjoying the view I got here because I can see both ways now. I get the odd person that's going by that's just kind of wondering what the hell I'm doing. Well, give us a little time because we'll have this up on a podcast. I just kind of want to remind people that we're not doing enough to help keep this country afloat. We got more people that are trying to sink it than to help it. And how's BC going to make out now? There's a difference of one seat. They've had that for years. They have to suck up to one another to be able to run the province. Will Saskatchewan be any better? The hell it will. How about Ontario? I want to talk also about Peter Nygard. You know, the fashion mogul from Winnipeg, Manitoba? He probably raped more young girls than Epstein did. And I want to point out something to you. You've got a new premier. He's native in Manitoba. He sits in the House in Winnipeg. I could name his name. I want to wait a while before I do that. But I want to point something out to you. Peter Nygard, the fashion mogul, committed so many sexual violent crimes in Manitoba, Winnipeg. And guess who's laying the charges? Cities in New York, cities in Toronto, but no one's laying charges in the province of Manitoba. Why not? Well, because if you dig into that one, you're going to find the who's who of society that socialized with them. Is that what we're afraid of? You want to look at some of the old videos of who Nygard entertained? The who's who of society. Is that why Manitoba didn't lay any charges? But everybody else is. What's going on in Canada? Well, you want to have a look at how bad we are right now? Have a look at the election results. Most of us don't even know who the hell to vote for. What's happening to our universities? We got a group of terrorists, hooligans, that wear masks, that just settle right into the university and say, nope, you get the hell out of this city, we own it now. So what, you burn the Canadian flag? You scream at Canadians, death to Canada, death to Canadians? Where's this charter we're supposed to have? Where's this freedom of expression, freedom of association? You know, there's one you're missing here that you're not talking about at all. And it's in the criminal code. And if we stop charging police officers under a police act and charge them under the criminal code, then they can't go anywhere in Canada when it's a serious enough crime. We can return them from there. But there's a section in the charter that says cruel and unusual punishment. Why don't you have a look at that one and see what's happening to our children? Divorce, custody, access. Who's the lawyer or the judge that says, well, you can't see your children anymore? Is that judge going to go and stand when that child is waiting for the father or mother for a weekend access? Of course he's not. He just hammers down the gavel and says, this is what you got to comply with. Who are these people? Who are these people? Our courts, our judicial system are a national disgrace. It's not keeping up with the needs of the public. And Red Deer just built another brand new courthouse. Wow. Okay? How about the hospital you were supposed to build? We don't need an addition, we need a new one. How about Rachel Notley? She turned ground in 2016. She spud it for a new hospital. They haven't touched the soil. That's 9 years ago. When are we going to live up to the things we're supposed to do for the everyday Canadian? And we've got a nice breeze behind me here. I'm going to show you the driveway one more time. What a good job has been done by Border Paving. And they haven't even put the blacktop on yet. You know, public, where there's a will, there's a way. And most of you people don't have the will. So how the hell are you going to find the way? Anyways, I'm going to leave you with my normal salutation of goodbye, is that please stay well. Good health to you and yours. Much happiness. Stay well. That's not a request. That's an order.